Welcome to Murray Montgomery's Lone Star Diary. Murray is a published author and syndicated newspaper columnist. He writes nonfiction stories about the Old West, most of them about cowboys and pioneers to the Lone Star State. Other true stories with an Old West flavor from all parts of America will also be included from time to time. Murray has been writing for some 20 years for the online magazine, Texas Escapes. So sit back and relax, and enjoy these true stories of Old Texas. Now, here's Murray.
Hey everybody, glad to be back with you on this new edition of the Lone Star Diary audio podcast. Hadn't made any of these in a while, so I believe this is episode 6, and it'll be marked on the title. And today I want to talk about Gregorio Cortez. Now, I don't know how many of you folks have heard of Gregorio Cortez, but he was famous in 1901. He was considered a bandit back in those days, but I don't think that Gregorio got a fair shake. And I wrote a column about him a while back. In fact, it's been a good while. And I want to share that with you now, and we'll go on with it right now. Just hang on. You know, Gregorio Cortez was considered a hero by the Mexican people. To the Anglos, he was the sheriff killer and needed to be hung. In the summer of 1901, Gregorio Cortez killed 2 sheriffs in South Texas and became one of the most hunted fugitives in the history of the Lone Star State. His hero status among the Mexican folks was mainly because of his ability to elude the formidable Texas Rangers. According to information found in the Handbook of Texas, Gregorio Cortez was born on June 22, 1875, near Matamoros, Mexico. His family moved to Manor, Texas in 1887, and it was there that the young man began to learn his trade as a vaquero and farmer. Cortez worked in Gonzales, Corns, and several other counties in this part of the state. Most people who were acquainted with him felt that he was a likable sort, and many just couldn't understand how he happened to get on the bad side of the law. It was on June 12th of 1901 that Cortez's troubles began. It seems that the sheriff of Atascosa County requested help from Corns County Sheriff W.T. Brack Morris in locating a horse thief. The Handbook of Texas states that Sheriff Morris, along with Deputies John Tremmel and Boone Choate, started questioning residents in the Kennedy, Texas area. The horse thief was described as a medium-sized Mexican. Unfortunately for Gregorio Cortez, he fit that description, but then so did many others in the area. One individual told Sheriff Morris that he had recently traded a horse to Cortez for a mare. The officer suspected that the mare might have been stolen. And the lawman confronted Cortez at his home on the W.A. Thalmauer Ranch, about 10 miles west of Kennedy. The young Cortez, along with his brother Romaldo, rented land from Thalmauer and raised corn. Most accounts indicate that Deputy Boone Choate was acting as an interpreter and misunderstood Cortez's answer to Sheriff Morris's questions. When Cortez said that they had no reason to arrest him, Choate told Sheriff Morris that Cortez said, "No white man can arrest me." After that response, the sheriff pulled his gun and wounded Gregorio Cortez's brother and barely missed hitting Cortez. It was then that Cortez shot and killed Morris. Cortez made his escape, but members of his family, including his wife, children, and mother, were taken into custody. Reports indicate that they were illegally detained. Now on the run, Gregorio Cortez made his way into Gonzales County, where he had friends near Belmont. It was at the home of Martin and Refugio Robello that he hoped to hide out for a while. The Handbook of Texas also reports that the Robello home was located on land owned by Mr. Schnabel. It was at the Rodello home that a posse led by Sheriff Glover of Gonzales County found Gregorio Cortez. A gunfight ensued, and as a result, Glover and Schnabel were killed. When it was all over, Cortez had escaped capture and was on the run again. Cortez walked 100 miles to the home of another friend, Sofronario Flores. He was given a horse, a saddle, and provisions. From here, the so-called sheriff killer decided to head for Laredo, Texas. By now, the young fugitive had a price on his head. The citizens of Cortez, Texas, put up a $1,000 reward for his capture, and it wasn't as easy for him to evade capture around Laredo because many of the law officers in the area were Tejanos. He was hunted by hundreds of men in posses, including Sheriff Ortiz of Webb County and Assistant Marshal Gomez of Laredo. It is interesting to note that while Cortez was on the run, many Anglo-Texans began to admire him. In fact, one San Antonio newspaper was greatly impressed by his remarkable powers of endurance and skill in eluding pursuit. Gregorio Cortez was finally captured on June 22, 1901, after he was betrayed by one of his acquaintances. This man, Jesus Gonzalez, led a posse to Cortez. Gregorio Cortez had been on the run 10 days from the time he had killed Sheriff Morris. While he was in custody, Cortez faced numerous trials. A mob of 300 men threatened to lynch him before officers turned them away. Also during this time, his brother Romaldo died in the Cortez County Jail from the gunshot wound he received in the encounter with Morris. A Gonzales County jury found Cortez guilty of killing Mr. Schnabel. He was given a 50-year sentence, but on January 15, 1902, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals reversed the Gonzales verdict. He was then given life in prison for the murder of Sheriff Glover. The Handbook of Texas reports that Gregorio Cortez had spent time in 11 jails in 11 counties. It also states that while he was in prison, he worked as a barber. Cortez was evidently a model prisoner. He was well liked by his jailers, and he had a lot of support on the outside from both Anglo and Mexican groups. Attempts to obtain a pardon for Cortez began shortly after he went to prison. Governor Oscar B. Colquitt finally granted him a conditional pardon in 1913. After his release from prison, Cortez went to Nuevo Laredo to join up with Victoria Herter to fight in the Mexican Revolution. On February 28, 1916, Gregorio Cortez died of pneumonia. After his death, many people were interviewed about Cortez. Some said that he really was a horse thief, as were his father and brothers. Others declared that he was just a victim of racism, which was so prevalent at the time. One thing we do know, for 10 days, Gregorio Cortez was a very resourceful man, and until the time he was betrayed, he had outwitted and eluded many a good lawman. There you have it, folks. Gregorio Cortez was misunderstood by a lot of people, and I guess we'll never really know if he was indeed a horse thief or just misunderstood by the Anglo police officers that went after him. And I want to make a note here that a movie was produced about Cortez in 1982. Some of the scenes for that movie were shot in Gonzales at the Old Jail Museum. That movie, The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez, is on video, and I think you can probably borrow a copy from your local library. So we'll just add that in there, and perhaps you can find the movie. I saw it a long time ago, and I forget the guy that played Cortez, but he did a good job. And I don't know, Texas was overrun with bandits back in those days, and there were a lot of innocent people also got arrested, and many of them were hanged. And I don't know, it's just one of those stories from the past. But this is a true story, like I always try to give to you. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll put up with me mispronouncing some of the Mexican names, which I'm not good at. But anyway, I think you got the point, and I'm real happy that you joined us for this one. And I'll be back again with you before too long. Goodbye, everybody.